Hi, good morning, Pauline. How are you doing? You're muted. You're muted.
Yes.
How are you? I know it's too
doing,
early in the morning over there, 7 a.m.
It's 7 a.m. Yes, that's right. I'm just going to get my, I think this is okay. I want to show this.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And just getting myself organized here.
Good. Take your time. We got another around about 6 minutes or so.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good. So, how do I do this?
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, all the leaders. We got around about 1 minute to start with. Just go to the chat and let us know where are you right now. Please go to the chat and type which part of the world are you connecting right now. Thank you, Chandrika. Thank you, Viran from Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Benny Korean from Kottayam. Thank you very much for joining from Kottayam. Okay, we have Dr. Pauline already here. Then from, yes, Pauline, thank you very much from Las Vegas. We have Fabian from Malpuram. We have Anu from Calicut. We got Vishwanath. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Vishwan from Chennai, from Tamil Nadu. Who else? It's going to increase for sure. Who else? Okay. Priyanshu Gupta from India. Thank you very much, Priyanshu. Which part of India, Priyanshu? Just type the city. Right. Very good. From Safa, good Safa from Bahrain. We got Sheila from Kotai. Okay, from Priyanshu from UP. Good. Pooja from Mangalore. Good. Who else? Okay, from different parts of India and from other countries as well. Good. Who else? Right. So let me just switch on my camera and Niaz from Kannur. Can you all see me right now? Okay,
Yes.
so we have our guest, our chief guest of the day right now here. So I want everyone to go and say hi, Dr. Pauline. Just go and type. Hi, Dr. Pauline. Come on, please, all of you, because she has taken the time, because it's 7 a.m. there, PST, and she has taken the time to be here with us. And so therefore, please go and show your gratitude, your respect to such a wonderful person, such a wonderful person. If I go for an introduction, I would say that Dr. Pauline is the only one till now to be coming on our stage for the third time. I have never bought anyone three times. This is Dr. Pauline. So that is the connection, because today she's going to talk about many things, and she's going to start with her story. She's going to tell about her ups and downs and how she was able to identify where was the spark in her life that made her who she is today. A very, very well-known author, a speaker, an international speaker, and she's not only that, she is into something called the magical conversation. You will definitely find the magic in her words. And the most best thing, you haven't heard her speak. Am I right? The time she starts speaking, she'll start connecting. That's number one. And her voice is so powerful. I want all the ladies and gentlemen who are there to focus on her voice. She didn't start yet. Don't start yet. Pauline, don't start it, because she has got such a blessed voice, and that shows her. That's like a leadership command. It comes from down. I love her voice, and she's going to talk about gender dynamics. This is something that could be something foreign for us, and you can learn that from the horse's mouth itself. And something called entrepreneurology, which is something like we have heard about entrepreneurship and entrepreneur, edupreneur and passionpreneur, and she's into that as well, and she's an educator. So there's a lot and lot for us to take notes. So make sure that you have got your pen, paper, etc., and make sure that you have muted yourself. Okay, that's very important. I'm going to make one of our coaches as a co-host, so they can also mute everyone. So please do respect their guest and their time, because Dr. Pauline has taken her time to be with us. So altogether, I want to say once again, I want everyone to say hi, Dr. Pauline. Those who haven't said till now, I want everyone to go to the chat and say hi, Dr. Pauline. Please go ahead and give show your warmth that you're also here. It's 7:30 here in India PM. We are around about 12 hours ahead of Pauline right now. And just go and say hi to Dr. Pauline. Please go ahead, everyone. Just go and say hi to Dr. Pauline. There's a lot of things that you can learn. And this is the agenda, very simple agenda. Dr. Pauline will be speaking about herself, and after that it's Q&A. You are free to ask questions. At that time you can unmute yourself. If somebody is speaking, make sure all the others are muted. We respect each other. We all are leaders here. We are grown-ups, we are adults, so do respect everyone. If someone is speaking, please mute yourself. You will be getting time. Okay, so we'll go for 1 hour. If possible, we can just extend it a very little, because I don't want to do that, because we have to respect the time of the guest. Therefore, with all your permission, let me warmly welcome on stage a very good friend of mine, a great leader, a great speaker, a great author, a change agent, Dr. Pauline, onto the stage. Please, Dr. Pauline, all yours. I'm going to take off my sharing now. The stage is all yours. Please go ahead.
Wow. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much, Farookh, and thank you for everybody with their hellos on the chat line. I'm hoping to meet all of you as we get into the Q&A. But what an introduction, Farookh. It's lifted me up, absolutely. And it is early here, so I am very awake, I'm fresh, and I want to be very magical. And if you might listen to my accent, you might say, wow, well, she's coming in from Las Vegas, USA. That is not an American accent. No, I was born in London, Great Britain. And so I am British. And I spent most of my life there until 10 years ago when I bumped into my now American husband. As I say, I don't have several husbands, but this is my American husband. And curiously and synchronistically, and not by accident, we met in Budapest. So Budapest, Hungary, Europe. I was in London, he was in Las Vegas, and we flew into a conference where we met. And it was actually Thanksgiving Day. It was very cold November. And I didn't really register Thanksgiving Day because I'm not American. But he wanted to be at home with his family, not there. I didn't want to travel there either. I resisted. But we both went and we met there. So maybe there's something about what we resist in our life that shakes us. Whereas if we let go and we just flow, we become magical. I want you to think about that. And what I want to share today is about how we can be expansive. Can we be expansive? Can we be in a love, unconditional, compassionate relationship with everybody in our world? And the world is in a very challenged and troubled time. I want to share with you why I'm called the ambassador of magical conversations and what is this gender dynamics intelligence. Now, the magical conversations really, I have to preface it by saying a magical conversation is where we come to a conversation without judgment. We come with our experience and everything that we've learned in our life and our perspectives, but we don't come with judgment. So the conversation becomes very fluid. We go in to what I call a mind flow. So we take our mindset and we take it into a mind flow and we listen. So we bring our experience to a magical conversation. And I was very privileged that my daughter, who's now a grown-up mother of 2 children and her own career, she gave me this title one day and she said, you should be the president of Magical Conversations. And I thought, well, president sounded a bit grand, so I decided on the title ambassador. But what I found was that as I suggested to people that we could have magical conversations, most of the time I had a very, very positive response because people didn't know what it was, but it sounded good. So one of the things I've learned is that words are really important. We need to understand that words impact other people and negative words impact other people negatively. Contracting, whereas positive words impact expanding, they impact positively. So that's really where I want to start, because I would love you to understand that we can have a magical conversation any day, any time, with any person we meet. It might be somebody in the supermarket, it might be in our business world, it might be with our team, it might be at home, but it's putting yourself into a position of sharing and listening. But of course, we're all different. So we're not all the same, and that's the blessing of being human beings. So I want to introduce you to 2 formulas, 2 ideas that you can take away. Firstly, the idea that in order to have a magical conversation, we need to know what we are, who we are, what we have of value. So I want to introduce you to this circle here that's sitting behind me. And it's in color, so I'm going to reference the colors. There's 3 arrows, and I call this value creation. And this is the start of my journey. When I was a kid in England, I was a bit of a tomboy. I was in a family of 4. I like to be a bit of a rebel. But I always loved conversations and I always loved to listen to people. But sometimes when we're teenagers, we're maybe a bit shy. We don't know who we are. We judge ourselves by everybody else. What I came to understand in my 20s and 30s and 40s, that I had responsibility for my own value. So the green arrow there with this strange little figure, that's you. Each one of you has a value. And it's not what you learned at school. That might add in. It may be what you have in your credentials on the wall, but that just adds in. What it's about is who you are as a natural human being. What's your natural gift? Are you male, female? What has been your experience? Are you good at maths or languages or art or music? What's that gift that you have? Maybe you're a chatterer. You like to talk to people. You like to make food for people. There's all sorts of things that we do which are natural gifts, and that's that green arrow. And so many of us are sometimes afraid to say who we are. This is not about ego. This is about being truly self-value. Because the blue arrow is every single relationship you have. So you see all these little people here. Every relationship you have, the relationship you have with Farookh, with each one of you, with your family, your everybody, and maybe ancestrally as well. How many of them are absolutely buoyant, positive relationships? They will add to your life. And those that are not so buoyant, what can you do to influence them? And this is only about you, not the other person. You can change somebody else's life by being magical around them. So the red arrow is what do you all do together? So if you'd like, if this is I, this is you and me, and this is we. So this is I, you, we. And this is about ownership of who I am, all my relationships, and what we do in the world. Now, when we have a magical conversation, we're sharing from our experience. And one of the things that we talk about in our entrepreneurology, which I shall come back to just at the end, is that we share our knowledge, our experience, and our imagination. So I want you to imagine the beauty of who you are flowing in that mind flow every day into all the relationships and into what you do as a business, as a family, as a community. Now, you might be saying to yourself, yeah, but that sounds really too easy when the world is so stressed around us. Of course, but remember the key here is expansion and not contraction. Now, there will be things in your day that contract you. That's when fear comes in, or maybe something sad or difficult. But the way we manage it comes from that green arrow. So this is where the magic starts. But of course, one of our little challenges is that we're all different. Is it a challenge? No, it's an opportunity. And one of the key things in my work, in my life, is to value differences. I was brought up in a family of 4, very happy Catholic family in North London. We went on lots of holidays together. It was very joyful. And I learned that I was in the middle, that my sister and my 2 brothers were very different to me. And as I grew up, I met friends and worked with colleagues. What were all the differences? Yeah, men and women were different, but different types of women, different types of men. And this is what I've been studying. I've had ups and downs in my life, as Farookh referenced. I was in a marriage for 30 years, and my husband and I, we decided that we needed to part. And I did that in the most magical way. That might sound very strange, but I wanted to do it in a way that created a harmony and a flow. We had become very different people. We had different needs, and we worked through that together. And this is why I'm known as a master of magical conversations. In fact, almost like a mediator. That's not to say we need to stay stuck. What I felt was I was stuck where I was, and it wasn't benefiting him or my children. We're very good friends all the way through. Sadly, he died a few years ago, but we were always friends right through his life and my life and the children's life. And I believe that we can get through anything difficult with an understanding of difference. And this is where value comes back in. If we value our differences, we can value the relationship in that blue arrow. So how do we spot the differences? I want to just give you a little pen sketch of men and women are different. Now, we've got men and women on the call today, and you're from different cultures. There are many of you from across India and Asia and the world. I didn't register all, but it's a fabulous collection of human beings. But we're male and we're female, and we're different types of men and we're different types of women. So what I looked at was a really basic aspect of being a male, and bless you all. There's a very straightforward energy to men. They love to exist in a very either or, yes, no situation. Now, men on the call, as you probably recognize, women don't work in that same way. Women are very multiple. We like to work in a circle. We like to look at lots of things. Many places in the world have said that women chatter too much. Maybe we do. we are relationship focused, and we have this curious thing which is called and. So one of the things that I spot between men and women is that we have two different operating patterns. So men working on a very 1, 2, or either or system, and women are working on an and multiple circular. Now, there's a lot more to this, but even if we look at this basic, we have some lovely aha moments when I work with my groups. Men will answer the same question with, well, it's either this or this, or this, or this, or this. And women will answer that same question with, well, do you know, it's and this, and that, and this, and that. Now you might say, does that make a difference? Yes, it does. It's like going from a simple system and a complex system. The magic is that we need both. This is not just about male and female, it's about the masculine and feminine, the energy of yin and yang. And that's where the flow comes in. So I'm going to just share with you the archetypes that I use. And then when we get to the Q&A, we can have some fun with these. These are new since I spoke to you last time, Farookh. So let's just take all the men in the world. And this is disregarding culture, all the different diversities, color, sexuality, generation, just basically male-female biology. Within the male biology, we have masculine and feminine energy. And within the female biology, we have masculine and feminine energy. So I'll share with you myself. As a tomboy, do you remember I said that? I've got a lot of masculine energy. I was a mathematician at school. I love geometry. I like to map things. So I'm what I would call a masculine-minded female, but I'm all female, you know, I'm a mother, grandmother, and that energy of masculine in me is my masculine-minded female. And I call myself, guess what? The magician. So the magician is she's a very independent woman. She's very creative, very practical, action-oriented. Now, my sister, who is more feminine female, is a sovereign. Again, she's very imaginative. She's got a wonderful creative spirit, very detail focused, but she loves to have her territory and really nurture everybody around her. So think about that. Are you a magician or a sovereign? Now the men, so you can think about this, Farookh, and all the men on here. One of the men is a masculine-minded male, so I call him the ruler. So he's very focused on action. He wants to get things done. And the other male is more feminine-minded, more intuitive-minded. You might call it the servant leader. I always say that Nelson Mandela was one of these men. I think he was a philosopher. He was a thinker-feeler. Now, all men will be a little bit of magician, philosopher and ruler. And all women will be a bit of magician, a bit of sovereign. And you might be saying, why do we need to know this? It's because when we look at the behavior of these characters, we start to see how they interact in the conversation. So if the man is a ruler and very bullet point, and one of the women is very fluid and chatting and going into multiple ideas, we want to understand where the tuning in works and when it doesn't. Because remember, with the magical conversation, we're going to flow without judgment. So there's a lot of circular motion with this. And these archetypes, we are exploring them with groups of men and women across the world. And I invite all of you to join us. We meet once a month, and I'll share that more with you. But the idea is that in splitting the groups, all men and all women, and we ask the same question, what we observe is how we answer differently. And the reason for doing all of this, the reasons it's so important, is that we have a world which is in, dare I say, a lot of chaos, a lot of crisis. We need to do things differently. And one of the major things is we want to be able to tune into each other in order to create what I call real synergy. And real synergy is actually, in my view, a very entrepreneurial way of being. It's a way of thinking openly, having a mindset to a mind flow, being open-hearted and knowing that people are different. So our key here is that when we value differences, we understand difficulties. If I'm different to you, I want to know where the links are, not to make us the same, to make us complementary and magical. So in my book, because I wrote my first book here, another one will be on the way soon, but there are various ideas in there about how we can communicate with empathy, with compassion, with balance. But always remember that you are a unique male or female, you're a unique human being. And sharing in that sacred, magical conversation space is to be without judgment, without getting angry with somebody, and without trying to force anybody to do anything. When we come together with a fluid understanding of differences, that is where creativity emerges. And the output is fantastic. So I think I should maybe pause here, Farookh, and just as a sort of a caveat to the whole thing, I was born in England, as you remember, and now I'm living in America. I met my second husband in Budapest, but I lived for 4 years in Malaysia with my husband, Jim, my American, because we wanted to search through the world and we needed somewhere to go when my husband was ill with cancer. So believe it or not, we ended up in Malaysia and I spent 4 years in Kuala Lumpur. And I can honestly say that was the most magical time, not just living there and being in a new culture, but seeing the world from a different angle. And I think that's what we all need to understand, is that our view of the world is very precious, but listening to other people's views of their world is important too. And we can come together to create real synergy in this world. We can create the magic of value creation in our own homes, in our businesses, and it will touch our communities and our countries. And my prayer is for world harmony. So that's a big ask, but I would ask everybody to think about this, as each one of us can put a seed of magic into the mind flow to harmony in our own lives. We can create a world that's more harmonious.
Wow, that was amazing. I want everyone to say amazing. Just go to the chat and say amazing. That's something new. I have written a lot of notes here. How many of you have taken your notes? Just go to the chat and say amazing. I want everyone to say amazing. And the beauty of this is it's not only verbal, it's visual. You can see things because you've got a picture behind you. You can see that. You can click a picture if you want to. It's very, very clear. It shows about difference in gender. And something that I liked is difference. When you start with difference, you know the difficulty of different people. Oh, that was great. You spoke about servant leadership, especially with Nelson Mandela, the ruler part. And I need to ask myself, who am I? Am I a Muslim? What is this? I need to ask myself. I need to go and ask my wife now that one. That's a question for the night. Okay, very good stuff. If there is anyone who could recap what Dr. Pauline said right now within 60 seconds, who can come in, and I would like Anish to unmute the person who can come in and speak exactly for 60 seconds, recap what Dr. Pauline said. Go ahead. Who is there? Anyone? What about Caroline? Where are you from, Caroline? I believe that she is from the US. Caroline, why don't you start? Just go ahead, shoot.
Do you mean me?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
You, exactly. You.
Hi, Pauline.
I want to give you the shock of the day. You know, you must be thinking, why this guy called me? Okay, go ahead. What is that one point? What is that one point that attracted you?
So I've already heard a little bit about this. I already know Pauline.
Yeah.
And you know, she mentioned earlier on about she's going to give some details to this monthly meeting that she holds. I went to my first of those monthly meetings last month, and I'm planning to go to next month. So yeah, it's what was lovely about that meeting is basically you've heard about the phrase walking your talk.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what happened in that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Was the fact that everybody was walking this talk,
Mm-hmm.
so that there was no judgment.
Mm-hmm.
There was a flow that was going on between male and female.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it didn't matter which archetype was going on there, because there was an understanding around some of the differences. So they were looking to find where they were kind of meeting through and in. So it allowed people to really listen to what people were saying. And I became very aware that people, there were one or two types that in the breakout room I was with, who I would perhaps normally clash with, didn't clash at all. And that's what's so lovely, because that means that we can move together forwards. There doesn't need to be any clashing. There doesn't need to be that kind of tension. We can have that flowing movement, which means we can all think freely. We can all add in our ideas, and therefore we could all move forward together.
That's beautiful, beautiful. Caroline, if I may ask you one question, where did you apply this technique outside the breakup room? Now, you had this session, monthly session with Pauline, and you got to know that all the other people they're also exactly like you when it comes to conversation. But let me take you outside the four corners of the breakup room. Where did you apply this technique?
So it started to make me aware of who and what other people were like. I think that was the other thing. I was aware of who and they were in different types of thought processes of mine, and I was aware of that, but it wasn't enough to get that synergy. And so what this has now done is taken me through to being able to see something a little bit more beyond where I was already seeing. So I can now take this into account as well. And actually, it's been really, really helpful. And I'm hoping that as I use it more and more, I'll become more masterful at it. Because at the moment it feels slightly clunky, but because I'm seeing the results already, then that really encourages me to keep going with it.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you. That was absolutely fantastic. I want everyone to say thank you. I want everyone to go to the chat and say thank you. Going back to
thank you, Caroline. That was so lovely, and I'm so glad it's making an impact in your life. And yes, there's lots more to learn.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Dr. Pauline, where did you apply this as a leader in an organization? Where you, do organizations come to you and say that, yes, this is something that we need to apply in our organization?
Absolutely. And because in organizations, it depends on the organization. If it's very hierarchical and dare I say, it's been established by a group of men, and there are not so many women involved. So one of the first things is about the fusion of men and women. And we know that from the numbers that, there were not as many women in senior roles, C-suite, etc. It's changing and it's really shifting. But one of the things I'm very aware of, that if we work on a baseline operating pattern, which is still yes, no, either or, male, then women are having to prove their operating pattern of and that's what I wish to change. So when I work with clients, I get them to recognize that if you stretch the baseline, so you now have a square and a circle, and you embrace the whole lot. It's like having a PC and a Mac, and you have different programs across. But what happens then, we understand the synergy, not just at a personal level and people level, but at an operating level for business. Because we need emotional intelligence and we need operational intelligence. And a lot of it is helping both men and women to understand they don't need to fight their way to this. So my vision is it's not taking the old world and just putting women in. It's actually women and men together and all diversities coming together saying, how can we now, post-COVID, create something which embraces all of us? Because actually we know we need emotional integrity. We need to understand relationships. And it's not that men are not emotional. Of course, all people are emotional. I always say to my clients, if you're not emotional, you're probably dead, and that's not, but we different have ways. So let's imagine with my clients, I have the ruler, I have the philosopher, I have the magician, I have the sovereign. We're looking at business from 4 different angles, let alone all the varieties around us. So we need to share the perspectives. Is business about profit or is it about people? Yes, for women, it's and. For men, it might be either or in certain situations. So I enable my clients to understand they can have their own dialogue patterns, but they need to be aware of others. So if a man is very bullet point, I might encourage women to recognize that they need to honor the bullet points, but then bring in their idea in a way where he can hear it. Mm-hmm. There's no point battling against something which isn't going to work. And it's no point saying, well, you've got to be like me, because actually nobody is like me. Nobody is like you.
Absolutely.
It's the way of understanding these conversations flowing so that we honor each other and we honor the synergy. The synergy is coming together of the parts. So I map out the conversational pieces. And what's really lovely is that when you actually act on it, as Caroline's saying, you suddenly feel differently and you start listening to the words that are coming toward you in a different way.
Wow. So this is something that you can apply not only in an organization level, but you can also apply this in a parenting level in your home as well.
Well, I think that one of the things I'd love to hear from on the others is that, everything impacts everything. And maybe that's a female point of view because we're and. Our human persona, our body, it functions at physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual levels. And I always say to my clients, whose body did you bring here today? Because you can't leave bits behind. I think traditionally, and I would be interested to hear from the men on the call, that traditionally men have had a better capacity to split business and emotions, home and work, whereas women don't. And that's been the challenge, is that women are so created that our emotions and our functioning all come together. So I would say life at work is something that we are passionate about. It isn't work and then life. And I think post-pandemic, hopefully we will get into new ways of doing things, that we thread these things together. We understand that emotions are very wonderful and positive. They're not all the fearful ones. They're not all the contracting ones. They're the expansion ones that are joyful. And they increase our customer base because our customers want to have a joyful experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. That was a great insight. So if there is anyone who would like to ask a question, please ask the question. Don't bombard one at a time, please. Go ahead.
Dr. Pauline, thank you very much for your gracious presence over here in this platform. Thank you very much. And you are known as Miss Magical Conversation, and the Global Ambassador of Magical Conversation. Could you please tell me something about a few more points on the magical conversation techniques for a 21st century? Magical conversation techniques for a 21st century.
Okay, that's a very good question. One of the things about the conversation, and it's slightly more difficult on Zoom, but if you're in a room, it's very important to have a circle. Let me say, why is that? Because when we're in a circle, we can see everybody easily. If I had my way, I would change every oblong and square table in the boardroom to a round one. Because as King Arthur in the Round Table, it enables us to feel we're all completely, equal. But when we're seeking equality, it's not about taking our differences away, valuing differences. The magical conversation, when you sit in this conversation, and as we do here on Zoom, you come with no ego, but you come with all your experience, and you're looking at a topic. So the topic is in the center of the space. So by understanding this, we're all looking at the topic. We're not being the owner of the topic and correcting or leading everybody else. We're all sharing together. So what's very important is that we see the topic in the space between us. So when you have a conversation, there's a space between you and the other person and several people. So imagine in that space, the topic is sitting, you're looking at it. So that's a very important part. So when you address the topic, you might paraphrase it with a sentence, in my experience of this topic, this is how I feel about it. This is how I think about it. This is my experience. Now, you don't need to say all those words. You could just come in, wow, thinking about collaboration, my experience has been that it makes me feel good and we get more done, whatever it is. So you're sharing into the center. And this is a very important part because nobody then has pole position. And if anybody does try and overdo it, you don't need a speaker, then the facilitator or somebody in charge will carefully remind them that it's about sharing. So you don't want anybody coming in opinionated and angry. And I'm often asked, how do you stop things when people get angry? And it's a way of, I would do it like this. I would say to the person who's being more opinionated and angry, say, I would just like to pause you at this point, if I may, and just remind you of the rules. And the rules are in this circle. This is not a feisty debate. It's a magical conversation. We invite you to share from your experience. If you're willing to do that, we'd love you to stay. But if you're not, we're very happy for you to go.
Wow.
Thanks very much.
That was very clear. I want everyone to go and type thank you. So in that case, what is the difference between a magical circle and a mastermind?
In a mastermind, again, if you think about it directionally, energy-wise, you've got, say, 12 people sitting around the circle. In the mastermind, you're taking somebody's, as I understand it, you're taking somebody's problems and you're all masterminding on that person and their issues, and that's great, and that's very creative. And in many ways, it's like a magical conversation, but it's always about that one person and that one topic. If you took that topic and put it in the middle, then it becomes a magical conversation because we're looking at the topic as opposed to the person with the topic.
Wow.
You can blend the two. I think, there's lots of systems like non-conflict resolution. Our intention in a conversation is very important. I would say if you're having to have a meeting where it's quite directive, you don't necessarily need a magical comment. You might say, look, we've got to get some action done. This is going to be an energy meeting. We're all in it together, but we do need to have these 1, 2, 3s and KPIs, but I want you to share how you feel. As the leader of a meeting, I think it's very important that you set the energy tone as well as the content. So energy is very important in all of this. And I'd ask all of you, when you're in a relationship or a conversation where you feel contraction coming, your energy changes, doesn't it?
Yep.
And that impacts how you go out again. So if somebody's being angry towards you, you need to not get angry with them because I think you will come to a full stop. But you can be aware of your experience. In my experience, I'm not happy with what's going on here. I'd really like to pause on this, but you're talking from I. Not I as in control, but I as in I'm owning that the energy has just changed. And I need to rebalance this or put a boundary up. May I have a permission to do this or that? You are able to make choices even when fear and contraction is coming towards you.
Wow.
So think energy.
So when you have this circles, magical circles, how long you have that? Is it for 30 minutes, 1 hour? How long is it? What's the length of it?
Well, that's a very, very good point. And I'm sure the men on this call, very often if men are involved, it might be a shorter conversation. I have sometimes done official sessions in business where there might be in an hour and a half, you might have 3 10-minute conversations and some plenary in between. But the actual conversation is done in that same way. So as the conversation reaches the table to a topic, everybody looks at the topic and reviews it, maybe mind maps. So you can get lots of creative ideas coming out of it. And I remember doing a session like this, and one guy who was in one of the groups said, "Oh, would you like me to be your timekeeper on these sessions?" Yes, I'd love you to, because he wanted a job. So it's very much feeding in. The danger with women, and I say that as a woman, is we can talk forever. So it's actually quite good to have some time bound if it's an official one. Yeah. I ran a monthly magical conversation in Malaysia, which was all women and for women. And we would have about an hour and a half. So, 90 minutes, because you're talking about a specific topic. And often we would just mind map everybody's comment so that we could look at it later. Because the idea in the magical conversation is you're not trying to control it for results. Mm-hmm. You're trying to create the ideas.
Mm-hmm. Wow, create magic. Good, thank you very much. Okay, say thank you. And next caller, please go ahead and ask the question. Anish is not here right now. He was controlling because he has got a COVID emergency, so he had to leave all of a sudden. So he has put me a message privately. So please respect the next caller. Please unmute yourself and you may ask the question. Go ahead, please. Anyone?
Hi, good evening, Sensei.
Good evening.
Ma'am, can you please share how did it all started? What actually sparked you to the start of this?
Sorry.
How did it all started?
How did you get started and what was the spark behind it?
Yeah, yes.
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. It was my own journey. So thank you for asking me that. I think very often we have a challenge in our own life and we need to turn it into an opportunity. Yeah. When I was a teenager, I really wasn't kind of sure how I was as a girl. Like, I like climbing trees and driving cars fast, and it didn't kind of fit in with some of the, maybe some of my more sovereign princess friends. But what I was very clear about was I wanted to have communication and really, I was a very good connector. But when I was looking at myself as a woman, I was really studying how I actually presented to myself. So one of the journeys with this is who you see in the mirror. And I actually became an image consultant it was in my 40s. But that's where I learned that it wasn't about the clothes you wear, but about the feeling you had about yourself. Yeah. So that's where I started seeing it's okay for me to be different. It's okay to me not to have to fit into the norm. So even though I've presented you some archetypes, you don't have to all be the same. It's about being yourself. But it was me wanting to be more confident and not be put down as being a sort of what I would call a tough woman in logic and a gentle woman inside my body.
Superb. Thank you so much.
And this is all about, number one, this is all about self-respect, number one. And number two, Pauline used a very powerful word here. It's not communication, but it's all about connection. And that was so powerful. It's all about connection. It doesn't matter how different you are. It's all about how you connect with people. It's not about communicating with people. That's so strong. And that reminded me of John C. Maxwell.
Yes. And that's what's very important is that we listen as well as hear. Often we think we're hearing what's going on, but we're not really listening to it. So, if you ever catch yourself saying, no, you really need to be like this, and the person is resisting you, is to check yourself and saying, I feel I'm giving advice to this person, they're not listening. Maybe listen to why they're not listening. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because you'll see that if you think of energy, you'll see them slightly contracting. Or the classic, which, when women say, yes, I'm fine, they don't actually mean it. So sometimes we are nervous about revealing ourselves, and it is a pretense, but it's a normal human growing persona, and women can often put themselves down when they don't need to. And this is where the bigger world comes into it, you know, that it's still the case that women are not as equal as they might be. But as I say, I don't think it's about gaining equality. I think it's about valuing differences. That's why I look at synergy, because synergy is all of us together.
Yeah.
We make the mix that we need.
Wow, that's great. Absolutely. That the key word is synergy. It doesn't matter whether you're weak or you're strong in a particular area, but going together with one common objective, and that is to connect and get the results. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Next question, please. Next caller, we've got 14 minutes more. 14 minutes more. Next caller, please. Go ahead. Don't feel shy.
Don't feel shy. We're
There's
are
a
there
safe
any
space. Yes, there's a very safe space. Yes.
magician women out there?
Yeah.
Yes,
Go ahead.
Mohammed.
Yes. Your voice is breaking. Priyanshu Gupta, your voice is breaking. Sorry. Okay, can we have the next caller, please?
Happy evening, Alia here. Am
Hi,
I audible?
Alia. Yes, go ahead, please, Alia.
I'm so grateful for this session, Sensei and Pauline ma'am. So I got more resemblance. There is a difference between men and women, and the most challenging factor is we should accept ourselves and identify the weak points and turn it as a strong point. Also, especially emotional part of a woman. So I want to ask you, ma'am, how these intelligence and emotions, there is a ratio, actually a connecting ratio that should work well, then only we can get the success. In that pattern, what was the challenge you have faced ever?
So if I may be clear, the question is what challenges do I have in terms of this work? Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And especially regarding that, there is a intelligence and emotion, especially in ladies, there is a slight difference when we are taking the decisions. So could you?
Yes.
That?
If I understand it, it's like, what are the challenges maybe for us as women and with men to really understand our intelligence and our confidence and our decisions? I believe the world is shifting where we understand that decision-making and intelligence, these are all separate threads that come together. So each of the archetypes, all of us, we have different styles of decision-making. We also have different ways that we apply our intelligence. If, for instance, we believe that being emotionally savvy and being gentle with people in business is diametrically different to maybe the boss who thinks we should be tougher, then when we manage that intelligence, we have to step into our soul journey here. So for instance, often we might hear things like, well, women are too aggressive, or, you know, even women will not support other women sometimes when they think that they're not being gentle enough. So the magician and the sovereign as female archetypes sometimes can get into battle with each other. Now, what we have to understand is that there are different ways. For instance, there are different ways of making decisions. Some people make decisions very fast, absolute. Others think about endless possibilities and then make a decision. So the other person says to the one who's taking his time, oh, you're not a good decision maker. If that happens to be a woman against a man, she might be seen to be not good. And our challenge is when we try and be something we're not, that's when it goes wrong. So it's all about the conversation of what is the benefit of having a quick decision maker and a slow decision maker. So for instance, if we understand that we're two different decision-making types, the conversation might be, well, actually, you know that I'm a quick decision maker. I'm going to make that decision now. And I know that you take time and look at probabilities. So come back in a few days and let me hear your view and I'll listen to it then, but let me do my decision now. So what it's doing is a conversation about understanding two different ways of doing something. That's what I call intelligence. And it's a challenge. It's not, it's an opportunity. I'm going to move away from the word challenge. It's a practice. Because when we're in the moment of pressure, what happens is we go to our pressure point and we go, oh, for goodness sake. Actually, in that decision moment time, maybe we need the fast decision maker, but we know that the other one is sitting there in the background. We all have complementary skills. So if you just take the basic masculine and feminine, masculine energy generally is yang. It's directive, it's outward. Feminine energy is soft and inward, and these two come together. So if you think about that in business life, it's the decision maker and the nurturer. We need both, and they may appear in both. So our philosopher man is the gentle guy, and sometimes our magician is the tough woman. The ruler can be very bullet point, and the sovereign can be very nurturing. We want to look at the mix. It's a bit like making a cake. We want to know what cake we're making and cleverly pick the right ingredients. Does that help?
Alia.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah, yes, you're audible.
I'm facing for some network issue, that is why.
Or you're in the dark. It looks like you're blacked out. It's a black.
Yes.
But when I am standing in the darkness and looking towards the light.
Yes, you're looking towards the light, and Pauline is the light now.
Yeah, right. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. I see that I'm adopting the powerful woman, and I appreciate you, and my great gratitude to us to you also. Thank you, Sensei. It's a nice answer, and I'm so happy to adopt such a things.
Thank you.
And I believe in this young energy and all, like our Indian concept, like Shiva Shakti. So like that. So is in the by birth itself, we all are as in the terms of zygote, we are half part is male and half part is female. So
yes.
in scientific way also, both the energies, when it is synchronized, and we are ready to be in the flow with the universe. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And just remember, you can be strong and sensitive at the same time.
Exactly.
That's part of the conversation. Is it's strong and sensitive. It's tough and soft. We can do everything because we're and women.
Absolutely. If you had a framework, what is the image or what is the picture that you can see and say that this is a screen and this is my framework, just like the one you have behind you, that gives a very good illustration. So the 4 quadrants that you mentioned right now, it's not a quadrant. I know that you like the circle. So if that is the one, what is the picture that, wow. Yes.
I can draw it for you.
Please. Yeah.
So if we have a square.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Yeah.
Can you see that? And a circle. So this is men, and this is women.
Okay.
And the men are tend to be thinking and feeling like this.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see that?
Yeah. It's clear.
Women do this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all in a big circle.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is masculine.
Okay.
This is feminine.
Okay.
So if you like, this is yang.
Mm-hmm.
This is yin.
Mm-hmm.
And this is energy.
Okay.
Okay, so up here we've got the male who's masculine. There's my ruler.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Here's my philosopher.
Great. This is what I was looking for. Yeah, we are getting it now.
This is the magician.
Yeah.
And this is the sovereign.
Mm-hmm.
So if you like, this is M, MM.
Yeah.
This is F, FM.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a mathematician.
Yeah.
See. This is the MF. This is the MM. This is the FM, and this is the FF. And in my book, you'll find an illustration of this. And also, I can send you a link.
Sure.
So you can see how the map builds up.
Right.
And the core is that depending on where we're standing. So if I'm standing here, I want to know how to talk to all of these people.
Yeah.
And so I want to learn what his traits are, what his traits are, what his traits are, so that I can master the magical conversation. So instead of coming in and being like a bull in a china shop, I can actually massage the whole conversation. And if everybody is as aware as me, then it becomes a new narrative.
Absolutely.
So one of the goals that we have in our research is to create a new narrative. So there's a lot of layers to this, because that new narrative will create the new world of business, which will create the new society. So it's one where we're very compassionate and understanding. We have emotional integrity, and we allow people to be who they are. This is the trick, the magic trick, is allowing people to be who they are, but in a synergy with each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. What is your thoughts about the DISC, the DISC?
Well, all the other, and this is very important, there are many profiling tools. There's DISC. I was just recently talking to the Y Institute about your whys. This is something that's come from the Simon Sinek arena. You've got MBTI, those are people who know that, which is quite complex. There's lots of profiles. They layer on top of this. So if I'm a magician here in my core behavior, and there's a range of magicians around me, we might have different profiles. And we have different life experiences. So this is not the only part of it. This is a magician who has a high I in DISC, or a magician. There are some correlations between some of the profiles and who we see, but there's a range. You've got to remember that this is 360 degree. You can actually be anywhere on the spectrum. And if maybe out of 100% of being a woman, I'm 70% magician. There are bits of me that occasionally are some sovereign. But when I'm under pressure, I'll go to my preference archetype.
Wow.
And that's why it becomes important where things go into difficulty. We can use this assessment, and I'm currently developing an assessment, and my programs here, I run training programs to teach people how to do this. Plus I'm developing a GDI app, Gender Dynamics app.
Wow. Oh, great. That's fantastic. Good. So there is time for one last question. Who is the lucky one?
Hello.
One last question. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, please. Yes.
Sensei.
Yes. Hi, Julie. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Good evening, ma'am. To see you. Very blessed. See, ma'am. It's really, I'm very proud to you. Yeah. I hope I'm audible.
You're audible, but you're breaking. Go ahead. I can repeat.
Challenging too. So what I have, my doubt is that certain days my energy levels are at the peak, but certain other days, what happens is when some instances or incidents occur, my energy level goes down. Yet I pick myself up, but I would like to know how.
Yes, I'll repeat the question. I think she is disconnected, but I'll just repeat the question, what she said. Julie said that at some days her energy level is really high, and at some occasions our energy level is too low. However, she managed herself to come back to the old energy. So what should she be doing for that?
That's a very, very good question. And one of the things we develop is the idea that each of us are, if you like, our own lighthouse. And you know, when you light the lighthouse up at the top, you need to know all the levels that grow that. So when we're aligned and we have our energy together, it lights up the message, and we're on sparkle form. One of the things to do is to try and work out, pinpoint where the energy bubble has gone. I use a very simple exercise, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. How would you score yourself 1 to 10 on your physical energy, i.e. your body energy? Can you run down the road? Can you or is it very sluggish? Is your mental energy 1 to 10? 10 is absolutely spot on. And a 2 is, I just feel a bit confused today. Then your emotional energy, you can tell very much from relationships. Am I able to flow with everything today, even somebody being a bit annoying? If I can't, then it's going to, again, drown my energy. And our spiritual score is really about, are we on purpose? So occasionally we can forget our purpose. We get so bombarded by the other scores, but it's a very neat way to try and spot where it is, because sometimes it is about stopping and meditating. Other times it's about drinking a bottle of iced water. Another time it's having some nutritious food. Others it's have a conversation with somebody who you can, share your grief or your sadness, who's not going to try and control you. So as we increase our emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual scores, we come back up the lighthouse. And really, we're addressing those different chakras. So that's another more in-depth side of what we would do. But it's very important when you think about, what I said here. If I'm drowning here, my energy is disappearing. It's very difficult to do these things because everything starts here. So as a magician or a sovereign, a ruler or a philosopher, is check yourself, check in. Don't stay in the contraction and the fear. Remove yourself, even if it's to another room or just outside, or to have that glass of water, and check in. Where's my score going down? Where can I easily put a habit in and change it? Because as we get drowned in any sorrows or fears, we need some support. We need to take ourselves there, get the best person around us, and maybe feed ourselves with some little treat. Does that make sense, Julie?
Yeah, that absolutely, because it's all about celebrating rather than crying on what's happening in our life. Julie, that was the answer to your question. So now you used a very Indian word here, and I was able to catch that word, and the word is chakra.
Yes.
What is it all about?
Well, with the chakras, hopefully everybody is aware of that. I know it's known in a way better in the East, but just the idea of balancing ourselves from the root chakra right up to the head. My physical, mental, emotional, spiritual score is a very simple version of that. But if we really study our whole body, we need to be centered. We need to be grounded. We need to know our feet are on the ground. That's the root chakra. We go back up into the sacral and the solar plexus. It's all about relationships. And the heart chakra, which is love, is that expansion. So if you remember anything from today, expansion, not contraction. Mm-hmm. Look for expansion. And then you go up, and you see my throat's gone croaky. Go up to the throat chakra. Are we speaking our truth? So if we have contraction coming towards us or fear, honor it, but don't step into the fear. Mm-hmm. Go into your own understanding of your human beauty. Because once you get up into the third eye and the crown chakra, you're sending your messages to other people. Mm-hmm. The goal is that, people say to me, oh, I can't be doing with that because I'm feeling so depressed. I say, well, you're still doing it. Sadly, it's a depressed value creation, because we don't live in isolation. We live in an environment where we're connecting and being with other people, even if it's on Zoom and not in face-to-face, we're still creating an energy source. Absolutely. So if you think about it, when we have electricity, we plug the wires into the wall and it works. We're plugging into each other.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much. Let's start with a very high note. How was your feeling when you met, I'm going to give the name of the person for sure, when you met this person and you are lucky that that person was holding your book, and the name of the person is Jack and Field. Jack and Field.
Oh, yes, yes. That was super fun. I think one of the things about having a message, and this is kind of a message to all of you, I wanted to put my message, and I was fortunate to start with this book, which is on Amazon, but I do have some other books, but this is the first one. And I spent my whole life slightly, well, you can't be slightly dyslexic, but I am a bit dyslexic because I never thought I would write a book because I'm not a very good speller. I didn't realize that you could write a book even if you can't spell. And once you've got it, you want to find people who will be influential. So I was very fortunate to be invited to this conference in San Diego a couple of years ago, and my book was ready. And Jack Canfield was there. And I thought, you know, there were 60 people in the room. I thought, I'm going to get a picture with Jack Canfield with my book. So I gave him a book and I signed it. And I stood for about 30 seconds with him. And all I said with him was, this is about helping people to connect and to be able to talk to each other with magical conversations, with harmony and joy. And he said, we need you in the White House. So it was a magic moment, and then I make sure that I got a photograph with him and then gave him the book. I don't know whether he ever read it, but he is a wonderful man, and I think one has to take these opportunities.
Yeah.
If you've got a message, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a book, it could be in your blog or online or whatever, but be genuine with it. Know what your mission is. I say, you know, my big mission is that we should all be in harmony. So why not world harmony? But don't force it on anybody else. That's the magical conversation. And Farookh, you're very good at just being this wonderful lighthouse, which sends light out across the world, and people are drawn to it. I'm sure that everybody here has that feeling. And when you interviewed me 3 years ago, it was just magical. Yeah. And I felt transported. And in fact, I have been to Kerala, so it was lovely to feel that I was reconnected with that time that I went there many, many years before I met you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now it's time for gratitude. I want everybody to go to the chat and say thank you, Pauline. I want everybody. There are around about 40 of you right now. Some of you had to leave due to some reasons. I was getting this private note here. So please go and say thank you, Pauline. All of you, please show the respect to such a great personality, such a great leader, because I know her very well, and such a great author and a speaker, a connector. I won't use the word, what do you call, communicator, but a connector, because she connects people from all the different levels.
Farookh, may I put the link to my book into the chat?
Please, go ahead. Those who want to buy the book, it is here. Just go and click. It's available on Amazon. It's a fantastic book. Go ahead, please. I have got a copy of that.
Caroline's showing it there.
Yeah, exactly, Caroline. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful book. I would highly recommend this book. And those who would love to join Pauline in the monthly meetings and so forth, okay?
Oh, yes.
Just go and connect with Pauline. We don't have, especially this family does not have any restriction. Wherever you find great teachers, go ahead, learn from them, and sky is no more the limit. That's what I believe, and that's what you have to do. Connect with people, connect with the eagles, because these are eagles. You can see Caroline and Pauline, all are eagles. So fly with the eagles so that you can soar through the sky. Next meeting is on 10th, 7 a.m. PST, which is 7:30 p.m. In Indian.
Yes.
Okay, so 7 p.m. Yes.
And I'm trying to find my the link to it. I'm just trying to find that. My camera's gone off. Where's that gone off?
Yeah.
Oops. That's it.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the link to it. If anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, that's one of my favorite places to be.
Yes.
And obviously Facebook as well. That would be good.
Just go and add yourself, connect yourself, follow Pauline. You will get the updates. Because whatever happens there in Pauline's world, I know that.
And also the other thing is, let me just post it here. You can, this this is quite fun. You can, let me see. I'm trying to be technically very efficient here. That's my YouTube channel. If anybody would love to go on there and subscribe, you'll find the videos of the various meetings. So the one that Caroline was talking about, I posted up just recently. So you can actually pop in and look at the replay and watch what goes on. And also you'll find various streams of mine about how to create the map. There's one in particular called Creating a New Narrative. And also, you know, comment and tell me your thoughts, because I would love to have many visitors from India, especially. That would be wonderful.
Thank you. So thank you very much, Pauline. Thank you very much for taking your time. I know that it was too early in the morning and you took the time to invest. We all invested our time here. It was an intentional learning rather than an accidental learning. So I would also like to thank all those guests from other countries who have come up in. I know that you are in different time zones and you took the time to learn, because we got to learn as if you're going to live forever and live as if today is your last day. So thank you very much, all of you. Good night and have a good day, Pauline and Caroline.
Thank you so much. I just want to say
thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Farookh. You are a wonderful host.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. And see you again for the 4th session.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.